You are down with.
Yo, Dave.
What up?
Drop the beat.
We like it old school.
Tuesday night.
What you listening to?
The brothers from the 818.
91331.
Pacoima, California.
What's up, Dave?
What's up, Caleb? Real and relevant conversation.
No script.
We invite you into our conversation.
What's going on, people?
You are down with.
The brothers from the 818.
All right. What's going on, party people? You are back. It is Tuesday night. You are back with brothers from the 818. My name is Dave, as you know. And actually, it's not Tuesday. It's Thursday night, and we'll get into that in a minute. So, no, it is not Tuesday night. It's Thursday night, but you're still back with the brothers from the 818. And my name is still Dave. And if all of that is true, you know who I'm kicking it with. What's going on, Caleb?
Hey, Thursday night, man. I've been thinking about my streets, man, lately. The streets that I grew up with, man, grew up in. The 91331,
Yeah.
the 818, P-Town, man. I just got so much love for P-Town. Everything is good, Dave. How's everything on your end?
Man, I can't complain. Things are good. Just like I said, work is good. Things are moving forward in very positive directions. I'm feeling good about that. Me and my girl on a real nice vibe. That's cool. Children are healthy. Xavier told me again today, I actually like being at school, and I'm just like, what that really means is he got a little girlfriend over there that he wants to see during the day. But it's all good. Whatever it takes to get him in there. Preston's doing well. Life is good, man. I wish I had a complaint to tell you, but I will tell you this, and it's not a complaint on any level. We talk about the 818, we talk about P-Town. I'm not in that area often, but
Right.
I would say 5 of the last, half the time, 5 of the last 10 times I'd have been rolling through there. Unless I was heading somewhere or was super late, I got off around Glen Oaks or Foothill or whatever. And just rolled through P-Town, man. Went up by Fillmore Park. I don't even know if it's called Fillmore Park anymore. And rolled down to Garmo just to see what's up, and not even expecting to see anybody. But yeah, man, I love P-Town, man. That's where we hooked up. That's where I grew up. That's where, in a certain points of the park at Fillmore, I can point out activities that we just gonna leave it at that. I learned to swim at Fillmore Pool. I don't even think it's called Fillmore Pool, whatever it's called.
Give a shout out to Valerie, man. You know she ran that.
Oh yeah, so my cousin Valerie, just big ups. Matter of fact, let me put my cousin Valerie on blast real quick because I wanted to make sure she hear this. Every year, once a year or so, she hit me up saying, "Here's some music. I want you to make me a CD." First of all, who listens to CDs anymore, right? I'm like, I'm gonna do it for you because you're the matriarch of the family, because I love you more than words could ever express. And as I told her, called her the other day, I said, you live all the way in Vegas. If you were to move to Orange County, I could take care of you a whole lot better. I have no issue giving you anything you ask of me, and will continue to do it and do more if I can. But you in Vegas, it's kind of hard. And so I blessed her with some stuff, and I'm like, look, I'll be out there in a couple of weeks. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna go through some stuff and blah blah blah. Every once in a while she shoot me a picture, some old school stuff, and I laugh, and I just love her to death. So big shout out to Valerie. But yeah, she's the one that brought me to P-Town, man, Pacoima, California, and the 91331 will always have a place in my heart just for that reason.
That's what's up, man. I love that you. I love one thing that we do is we recognize the people from the block. We recognize the people from the neighborhood. When you mentioned in Valerie, it put a smile on my face because what I'm thinking is, why don't you just share that Apple account, man, with her, and you can share your Apple account, you can share your Spotify account with her, and then you can walk her through the steps, and then she would love you even more if that's even possible, brother.
Oh, I did, right? I was like, look, give me your email address. I hooked her up with it. I got a couple extra seats. Here you go. And later, oh man, I wish I could show you the text. She sent me an old lady flossing right? Talking about how happy she was, and there's a meme with a little girl kind of doing like this, and she sent that over. And so, yeah, it was just like that. I was like, look, there's a whole lot of different ways you can get your groove on with some music than having to go with a CD. And so after we hooked it all up, I said, hey, do you still need the CD? She's like, well, yeah, I got. How am I gonna listen to it in my car? All right, I'll be there in a couple of weeks. Let me educate you, and help her out. So I'm gonna have her tech savvy in a minute, and she's gonna be able to do her thing. But Valerie, when you watch this, because I know she will, Valerie Moody, when you watch this, I love you, and my life would not be my life without you because you gave me the escape I needed and the love I needed when I needed it. So big ups to Valerie.
Hey, big ups to Valerie, man. I got some other people that was coming through my mind because I had a pretty significant event happen last week. Um, I got, I got, I got. How do I want to say this to this audience? Um, I got a promotion. In fact, it wasn't a promotion. I just got blessed, man. I got blessed, um, and I was humbled by the promotion. I was humbled and I was became emotional. Some people called me when I wasn't expecting it. They caught me off guard, man. I was trying to put words together in a sentence, and I was choking up, and I was like, man. But
right about now.
but I got blessed, man, and I've been with my company for a long time, and I learned something that is pretty significant. And this is all I'm going to say about that is that I was told that the position that I promoted to, I'm the first person in my area that got promoted in that position that's an African American male. And I was just like, wow, that is pretty amazing. That is an incredible blessing. And the weight of that really gave me reason to pause and just reflect on the number of people that helped me get there. And it's the good supervisors and the bad supervisors, right? It's the people that talked me out of going to management door when I was pissed off. It was the people that made me chuckle at the end of a day. It's the people that threw a baby shower for me. Not all just work stuff. All of it is connected, man. And I just feel so blessed to be sitting in that seat, knowing that I'm part of that of history for this area. And so it's really a blessing, man. And sometimes you just gotta stop and just stop. And what I did when I originally heard the news, I stopped and pulled the car over and started praying and thank God, man, for that. Because this kid from the 818, this kid walking on those streets, this kid that got in a lot of trouble, sometimes I'd be like, thank you, God, for just showing me grace and mercy. But we're doing this podcast on Thursday night instead of a Tuesday night because the final presidential debate jumped off. So let's get some talk about that.
Before we go there, I got to say this. When you graduated from USC, for some reason, I want to say we were at the Habit, but I don't think we would have been at the Habit. I just remember this back room. Your wife brought some people together. I remember your dad was there, your brothers and sisters. I was there.
You want me to tell you where we were?
What's that? Go ahead. Where were we at?
We were at Hamburger Hamlet in Sherman Oaks on Van Nuys and Ventura.
Okay, so that's the exact place I was thinking of. But what did I say? Habit? I meant Hamlet, right? Yeah. So Hamburger Hamlet. Yeah, that place has special memories for us for a couple different reasons. We'll do that in another podcast. But one of the things I said to you is hard to pump a brother up for doing what he's supposed to do, right? And it's the lens I look at you through. I expect excellence from you. I expect you to promote. When we talked about you were doing the interview, I claimed victory over it then. After you said you had your first interview, there was, okay. I was like, did they give you another one? Yep. I was like, we're going to do better that one. And when you did the second one, I claimed victory over it. So by the time you told me you got the job, I was like, I thought we took care of that back in the day. I mean, and I wasn't even being facetious. I was
Right.
like,
You
that
said
was
that.
a done deal. So, I'm proud of you, man. But is you doing what I expect you to do, and that's maintain your humility, move through and recognize your blessings. Recognize that, yeah, it wasn't just you. There's an army behind you, and although it was you in the interview and so forth and so on, you built this career through cooperation, through collaboration, and you just take it to the next level. And wherever that takes you from here and beyond, you'll continue to do that. And that's why the other thing I want to say, and this relates us back to the P-Town, is that we oftentimes make statements based upon the exception. You can do it because I did it. Look at that person; they were able to achieve that, so can you. And we make statements based on the exception when really the people we're talking to represent the rule. But everyone who's in the rule has an opportunity to be the exception, right? And I really got to put that out there. And I'm gonna say it again just so it's clear. When you're in the rule, you have an opportunity to be the exception. Now, I know that comes through sweat and toil. I know circumstances may, prohibit that. I know that if you fall off the system, right, if you happen to get caught up in the penal system or whatever, things get increasingly more difficult to achieve any level. And I get that. I'm not stepping on any bruhs that may be stuck under whatever, but my point of it is, it still stands that the rule is the rule for a reason. But hard work, dedication, and just continued progress will promote you farther than not doing those things will. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
everybody that works hard is not going to promote, but I guarantee the people who work hard are going to promote faster than those that don't. So that's just how I look at it. I'm proud of you, man. I'm glad
Amen.
that you are a Hive sock wearing brother out to 818. And matter of fact, I pulled up a picture the other day. I had on a black and blue BK shirt. You had on a red and blue BK shirt. We were kneeling down with jeans and fresh white sneaks in front of an 87 Ford Escort. And the person I showed the picture to, there's like, is that a Ford Escort? Like they were throwing shade. I was like, please, that car was popping back in 87.
Right.
Matter of fact, no, it was fresh back in 87 because what going on about popping, and it had a tape deck too, right? I mean, we was doing some things with the Escort. So yeah, man, the P-Town.
Hey, let me just say this before we pivot. I don't always do a very good job. In fact, I would say I do a poor job of receiving like praise, right? Because I don't feel like I feel like as you said, it's part of the work. I don't need someone to say thank you for. I don't need my wife to tell me thank you for making the bed, thank you for cleaning the sink, thank you for, right? That's what I'm supposed to do anyways. And I'm supposed to go on the job and I'm supposed to put in my work. And when people praise me for doing things that I would do anyway, it becomes a little difficult for me to disown it. But what you just laid out and your acknowledgement and recognition for me, man, I appreciate it, man. I love it. I'm one of your biggest fans. I know you're one of my biggest fans, and together we're going to continue to do big things. What I'm most happy about is this blessing will put me in a position to try to make more change and try to uplift more people. And what I am reminded of is that this is part of my legacy, man. This is part of what I do. When I was leaving the military, I was thinking legacy, and I only have a couple more years in my position with my department, and I need to start thinking legacy too. What will people say about me, in 10 or 15 years? And then a bigger picture than that, all of it is part of legacy. And what are people going to say when I'm long gone and not breathing any of God's air anymore, right? And what are people going to say then? And that's what I'm going for, not for the recognition, but for the work and the other people that I'm able to assist on this journey.
No, I get that. I get that. So my final two things with that is I've learned to say thank you. That's all you got to say. Not because you need it, but because not because you need the praise, but you appreciate that people recognize what it is. We talk about the fishes and the loaves. You're in it for the fishes and the loaves. I don't need the fishes or the loaves, but I do like some fish and I like some bread. So if you're gonna give it to me, I'm gonna receive it and I'm gonna say thank you. And the other thing is, and we'll close out with this, unless you got another tidbit, feel free. And I'm gonna mess up the saying, but this is my way of saying it. Some people will remember what you did. Some people will remember what you said, but everybody will remember how you made them feel. So always remember that. No, if you're concerned about the legacy and not concerned in any negative aspect, but making sure you leave a legacy, just do right by people, man. And as long as you're doing that, you'll continue to promote. You'll continue to make change. You'll continue to make change while you're making change. You know what I'm saying? Right. You'll continue to rise up, and it will be effortless because people will want to follow you. Right. And it's the principle of leadership versus management. So continue to be that leader. You can manage a process, but people want leadership. So you, man, I'm very, very proud of you. And to everybody out there, when I look at Caleb and, I don't give him, I don't gas him up, because again, I expect excellence out of him as he does me. And when he does it, I'm proud at the action, but I'm also looking forward to the next step too. So all good, man. Make your legacy.
There you go, brother. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Love you, bro.
Love you too.
And with that, we're closing out the brothers from the 8. No, I'm kidding. So look here, man. The reason, as Caleb pointed out, that we shot this over to Thursday night, because we knew the final presidential debate was tonight. So we want to chop that up a little bit. Before we get into there's a whole lot of political climate stuff going on. And what I really want to say is knowledge isn't about what you heard. Knowledge is about what you investigate and learn for yourself. And there's a lot of rhetoric out there. So I'm doing a PSA a little bit early. But there's a lot of rhetoric out there. Chop it up and find it out for yourself, whether it's the propositions, whether it's the 6 points that they really talked about tonight. If you just took tonight's debate for the cannon fodder that it is, you would leave confused, because everybody stood their ground on their issue and pointed the finger at why the other isn't doing it. And so if you have no understanding of the political environment right now, I understand why you feel like maybe I shouldn't vote. And I urge you to vote. I urge you to let your voice be heard. And speaking of voting, I still haven't got my ballot, man. Today was, I think, the first day of official early voting, and I still haven't got my ballot. I'm not tripping. I did call in. They told me, not called in. I said I registered for something, not to vote. I've been registered to vote a long time, but I registered for like that ballot tracks. Where's your ballot at? And they said they sent me a response, and it said, your ballot has been mailed. It takes 5 to 7 days for delivery. So I was like, bet. When was it mailed? And the response was, your ballot has been mailed. It takes 5 to 7 days for delivery. So I'm like, well, if it was mailed 3 days ago, then I ain't got nothing to worry about. If it was mailed 14 days ago, then something's happened. Either way, I'm voting come election day. I'm gonna go to my local polling place. I'm gonna say, here's my driver's license, my social security, my California real ID, 2 forms of birth certificate, my passport, lease agreement, whatever they need. I'm casting my vote on that day. Nothing's gonna stop me.
Hey man, you got a real ID?
Yes, sir.
Me too. And I know that they extended it, but I don't know why. I went ahead and waited like 3 hours to get my real ID. When I realized that I could leave, I was like, well, I'm already invested an hour and a half in this process.
Right.
Um, but people need to bring all of those items that you mentioned, just because you don't know the political games that people might play.
Yeah.
So bring it all. Bring your real ID. Bring your fake ID, um, or not your fake ID. We don't want any. We don't even want to encourage any voting fraud.
Right.
Bring your old ID. Bring your passport and your birth certificate and your social security card. Bring them all. So if it becomes in question, you'll be able to address that and still be able to cast your ballot.
So that's it. Because a lot of times, depending on how important your vote is to you, any resistance, you'll be like, I'll forget it. It doesn't matter anyway. And you're going about your business. And I'm here to tell you, it does matter. It really does. And so we laugh and joke about all the different forms of identification, but I'm not playing. If I have to go there, literally, I will have my driver's license, my birth certificate, and my passport with me. And maybe I'll grab a gas bill or something just to show that I am who I am. And again, they may come up and be like, what's your name? David Smith. You're right here, sign. And it's not a big deal. Great. I'd rather be over prepared than to not be able to cast my vote. So that's what's so yo, man, let's dig into this debate. I caught the whole thing beginning to end. One of my boys came and tried to vacuum while the debate was going on. I appreciate he wasn't do his chairs. I was like, if you and that vacuum don't get out of here, I'm gonna put you in it and then just recycle everything. I thought it was much better than the first. This is prior to it. They said they were muting mics. So
Didn't have very well, but yeah.
well, I think they did, and the reason I say that is because they gave Trump 2 minutes and they muted Biden's mic during that time. And
Okay.
then they gave Biden 2 minutes and they muted Trump's mic during that time. And then they lit both mics and allowed them to go back and forth. And in the beginning, it was working. They were both being very respectful. I did notice a few times one of them or both in certain instances tried to say something and realized my mic isn't on. So it was a quick stop of words. And then they actually cut Trump's mic once. Like he was in the middle of talking and he just stopped, right? But it was like 3 seconds. I was like, good, make the threat real so they can see. Now, towards the end, they were just bantering back and forth. And, you know, that's where I felt that she lost control. And it didn't get super out of hand, but I felt that, okay, we're going to move on. Well, I just need to respond to that. Okay, 10 seconds. 30 seconds later, he's done. Well, I need to say something about that. Okay, Mr. President, 10 seconds. And then 30 seconds later, and then somebody else would chime in. And she kept trying. But I'm like, when you allow those things and you're not on the original purpose of what you talked about, which was muting mics, it tends to go awry. So
yeah, I think that she did a great job initially, and I liked her command, but she didn't stick to her time frame, her window that she was giving them, right? And I also didn't mind that so much, but what you started to see towards the end was what you saw in the first debate, where they were trying to get some additional points in that wasn't on topic,
right.
And they were trying to slide something in here and there. And both candidates did a pretty good job of pivoting and diverting and sidestepping some of the conversations, but she did a very good job. I love the series of questions that she had prepared.
Yeah, I like the issues that she posed. I love that she said, you know, we're going to hit 6 questions. We want to get through all of them. This is how we're going to do it. And we can walk through some of those. I really, you know, some of them were, okay, yeah, there's some interesting topics. Some of it was just rhetorical, presidential, political, you know, jibber jabber. But I gotta throw a clap for Biden. I was impressed. He came out. I saw what'd you call him? Mean Joe. What'd you call him before? What's his nickname?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I saw more of that tonight. You know, we've done all these boxing references, and we talked about rope a dope and putting somebody on the ropes and da da da. What I saw him is controlling the ring, right? He was in the middle, he was charging forward, he was throwing blows and da 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 da, and didn't focus on the American people enough for my taste. I mean, literally, I was watching it saying, Joe, we're right here, man. Get right here. Stop talking to her. She doesn't matter, right? Get right here with us. But he did more so than Trump did. But the other thing he said that I clapped, literally clapped, me by myself sitting on my couch in front of the TV, I clapped. He said, this guy's confused. He's not running against all these other people. My name's Joe Biden, and I'm running for president, right? And I was just like, that's what I'm talking about. That's how you bring it back around. Because he's like, Bernie Sanders this, and this Democrat that, and your vice president this. He's like, and then there was another point where he was talking about, you know, Trump accused him of 47 years in politics, 8 years as vice president, and so forth and so on. He says, but I'm not running for vice president. I am the president. He's like, I'm running for president. This will be my plan. And that's when he switched Obamacare to Biden care, which I thought was a stretch. But okay, let's run with that for a little bit. And, you know, so I felt a whole lot better about Joe's command. Sorry, I'm not even going to trivialize him. Vice President Joe Biden's command of the debate this time. What about you?
Yeah, I thought that there was some other opportunities for him to kind of clap back a little bit, but he certainly had better command, and he certainly was a bulldog. And he was kind of playing that double dutch where he was like, okay, I'm going to jump in. And even when there was some moments where they were both over talking each other, I think that he handled that well. I didn't have an issue with the Biden care, right? Because if everyone's saying that the Obamacare is broken and if it has its issues, and my assumption is that it does have its issues, right? And he's saying, well, I'm going to change Obamacare to reflect these things, right? I don't have a problem with it. Obamacare is not Obamacare anyway, right? And Biden care, right? Affordable Care Act, right? And Biden care won't be a Biden care anyway. It'll be have another official name and title. I think that, you know, there was times in which when both of the president was trying to come for him and was saying that I'm the least racist person in America. I've done the most for Black people since America since the Constitution was formed. I think that he could have just simply said, "You're out of touch and you're delusional," and that is not the sentiments of the American people. Right. You've been very divisive with your rhetoric and your words and your actions. You've supported the white supremacists. You've supported the what do you call it? He called Biden called
instead of the Proud Boys.
Right. He called them poor boys.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Proud Boys don't appreciate being called poor boys.
Right.
And so he did that. But, you know, I think, let me go there. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, well, let's go 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago, since we're talking election, right? If a candidate came up Joe Biden's age, President Trump's age, and just kind of stumbled and to gather their thoughts, back then I probably would have said, we need someone sharper in the White House, right? But since we've had Donald Trump in the White House, which has lowered the expectations for the presidency, that's not my position anymore. So I would say Joe Biden, he's not as sharp as he would have been 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago. But I will take Joe Biden, a rusty Joe Biden, who is a man of character, morals, and values, versus Donald Trump. Joe Biden, the person that will listen to his advisors and the scientists and be bipartisan, which he touched on, right? And be America's president instead of his party's president.
Right.
I'll take that guy over the, and I'll say it, the racist, the bigot, the elitist, the divisive president that Trump has been for the last 4 years.
So I was in a meeting recently where we were talking about sensitive issues amongst people who are actively engaged in doing good and doing good for the community, for, you know, people around them and so forth. And one of the things that came up is sometimes we say the wrong thing, right? And it's worth being corrected, but we need to at least give each other the benefit of the doubt that you assume intention was good, right? And you can't do that in every crowd, I know, but amongst a group of people that you know that you're working with to achieve greater and higher levels, you can make that assumption. This is why I say that. When Trump said, I am the least racist person in this room, the moderator, Joe Biden, and everybody in the audience who, according to Trump, it's so dark I can't see you, should have been personally offended. And the reason I say that, unless there was like a member of the Proud Boys in there, or somebody in the KKK, or somebody that's a skinhead affiliate, or someone that made $400 million off of one of his initiatives or whatever. But for the people in the room, when you say a statement like that, what you're saying is you're more racist than I am. What everyone else doesn't have in the room is thousands upon thousands of footage, of hours of footage and recordings of Trump engaged in racist actions, activity, rhetoric, body language, policy, practice, and procedure, right? And so I found that statement personally offensive that he would say that. And then for him to say, I've done more for Black people in this country since Abraham Lincoln. Again, I want my Bud Light. I don't know if you saw the movie Wag the Dog, but I want to call Joe Biden because he has a receiver in his ear, and I want to say this, and I want to say, find me a Black person in America that agrees with you. Right? One. Give me one Black person in America that will say, you've done more for Black people in this country since Abraham Lincoln. Now, you know, and I'm pivoting a little bit. So, you know, 50 Cent came out recently and said he's endorsing Trump. Right? Did you know that?
Yeah, I think I read that.
So the reason he said that is my name's 50 Cent, not, I think he said 40 Cent or something, because he found out that under Biden's plan, which is a true statement, he would be taxed at a 62% rate. And he says, I am not trying to give up 62 cents of the dollar. I'm protecting my dollars. I am going to vote for Trump, right? I don't agree with it, but we had this conversation before that people who are long in the dollar are going to make decisions based upon protecting that dollar, right? So when he says something like that, even a 50 Cent, if I could get him on a horn right now and say, hey, do you agree with the statement, right? Because he's Black and he's supporting Trump. Do you agree with that statement that Trump has done more for Black people than any other president since Abraham Lincoln? Even he, and not that I'm putting 50 Cent on the spotlight, but he's the Black person I can think of off the top of my head that's supporting Trump, right? Just no one's going to agree with that statement. And I really wanted Biden to say that. Find me one. Find me any Black person in America or even out of America that would agree with that statement. Because if you're going to say that, you're speaking on behalf of a people group. And I want to hear somebody agree with you, right? So I want to pause there. I got some other stuff to go at, but I want to hear what you think on that.
Yeah, let me. He mentioned Black Lives Matter, and he said the first time I heard about it, they were talking about pigs in a blanket, right? And wait a minute. Okay, if that was the first time you've heard Black Lives Matter and that turned you off, I got it, okay. But that is not representative of the Black Lives Matter movement, right? And he's had a number of other examples of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I felt like that was another opportunity for Joe to attack him or to point out to point out how misaligned he is with the Black Lives Matter movement. Trump mentioned the HBCs, right, and that they gave instead of having them come back every year, they had to come back. He's getting now they only have to come back every 10 years, right? And I thought that was a nice drop for Trump, right? He pointed that out, and he was like, "Why didn't you guys do it? Why didn't you guys do it?" And those are political games, right? Like, I didn't do it because it wasn't structured that way before, right? They didn't ask for that. They didn't ask for it that way, right? We've always looked at a budget and we structured our budget annually. But if you want to put someone on a 10-year contract, okay, you could do that, right? And what are the HBC? And my question is, HBCs, what you doing with all these tuitions for you always to have your hand in the government pockets, because that's my tax dollars, and I'm a Black man and I believe in HBCs, right? And I don't know how much money that the government is giving to HBCs, but it does give me reason to pause and question how much money you giving them, right? Did the tuition go down for anybody, right? Where's the money going, right? Because Black folks like my sister, who's in a HBC at Howard, right? She's still paying the same dollar amount, regardless of how much the government has given them. So reason to question it. But I thought Trump dropping HBCs and then also adding that they love me and we have a great relationship. He has a great relationship with everybody until he don't have a great relationship with everybody. There was that conversation about, and we're going to pivot off of the I guess the Black Lives Matter, the HBCs, the people of brown and Black discussion. Because I was going to pivot. I guess this is brown discussion. He was talking about the children that from the that was taken away at the border, and he was asking Biden about those cages. And I thought that was another opportunity for Biden to look strong instead of kind of looking as if he's kind of dodging the question, because it did appear to me that Biden didn't want to answer that, right? And I would have loved Biden to say, listen, we built those cages, but we didn't put those children in those cages. We built those cages for emergency purposes. And what you did is you used them. Right. You put children in those cages after you and your administration ripped them out of the arms of their parents. Right. That's not on us. There's plenty of infrastructure, and there's plenty of buildings, and there's plenty of things that are built just like the nuclear bombs and atom bombs and tanks and weaponry, but we're not using those things. Those things are there in case of emergency, right? And so if I push the button, then you could call me out on that. Right. Those things were there left for you in case there was an emergency. In my assessment, what you did to those children and those families at the border was not an emergency. It was you playing politics.
Yeah, and it's like blaming GM for the drunk driver who slammed on the gas and drove through the crowd of protesters, right? Well, you made the car. I did, but I didn't tell him to get behind the wheel drunk and step on the gas and run over everybody. I mean, that was, and those are the shifts that Biden could have done to really, stop the attack, instead of making it look like he didn't want to answer. Even when Trump said they came over with coyotes and so forth, he came back with a good comeback. He's like, no, they came with their parents. He's like, and you separated them as a deterrent, letting them know that you won't let them come in. You say they can have asylum, but you make them wait on their side of the border so they can't get to it. I mean, those are those aggressive, move forward, control the ring options that he did better. I mean, again, I don't want to take away, but there were some obvious points where I thought he could have continued to show strength and not play politics. And last thing I want to say on that, there was, I really try not to credit 45 with anything, but he started down a line that I don't know if he just forgot his train of thinking or if he didn't play it out well in his head, but he started to focus on the reason I ran the first time is because I just didn't agree with what was happening. And I heard that two ways. One, I didn't agree with you, Trump, you, Obama, and you, Biden. But what I heard him saying is I didn't agree with politics, right? And so I ran and I won. And clearly he's ran this country, and I'm being real loose with the word run, right? But he's ran this country for the last 4 years on a non-political agenda, right? And if you're going to argue with me and say, yeah, he has a political agenda, it's his own, okay, I'll give you that. But a non-Republican or Democrat agenda, he's on a Trump political agenda. And he was basically saying, and if you guys getting back in office, it's going to go back to the same old games. I'm like, you could have really worked that argument if you wanted to. You're Trump, and you were just slinging it at flies, seeing if you could hit anything. But I was like, wow, that could actually be done well if he had done it better, but he didn't. And the other piece to come back on with that was he just kept pushing Biden about, you had your chance to do this over 8 years. You had your chance to do this over 8 years. He said two things that really impressed me. When he asked him about the number of Black males that were in jail because of his crime bill, or the crime bill that he was part of, he said, we did some things wrong. And then we
you would never hear that from Trump, by the way.
No, not at all. And he owned it. He was like, yeah, we messed up, but we also released 38,000 prisoners that were caught up in that game as a means to make it better, right? It doesn't change the fact, but we were wrong. And so when he was like, every time he was pushing, well, you had 8 years, you had 8 years, come back and say, look, I've had 8 years as vice president. I supported Obama. I believed in Obama. A lot of the things that we did, we were on the same page. But even if we weren't, I still supported my president because that's how you do things, right? But now I'm president, and it's going to be my agenda and with the things that I want to push in the way I want to push them. I think, and he hit that a little bit, but if he would just stayed there, dove there, it would have really shut Trump up. And it would have given him no place to go. He would have went somewhere anyway because that's just who he is. But
yeah, I like that Biden is more centered and can view himself as the American government. Every time Trump talks about democratic states, democratic people, it is such a turnoff as an American, right? Because I'm American before I'm a Democrat or a Republican or a liberal or a socialist, as they've been throwing it around, right? I'm an American first, and it really turns me off. And anyone that is on the fence, hopefully they're listening to that, because that should be a turnoff for you too. Because if you're not on his team, if you're not with them, then you're perceived as the enemy and against them, and that shouldn't be the case for the American president. The other thing that I thought of is make America great again, right? Like, we're still waiting. All right, when is this going to happen? Because you've had 4 years, right? Essentially, you've had 4 years to make America great, and we're still waiting, right? And there's so many things that Donald Trump does not have a plan for. Right. He doesn't have a plan for COVID yet, right? He doesn't have a plan for the Affordable Care Act. But we're going to change it. We're going to change it. You just wait. You're going to see, right? And I don't know how his supporters wouldn't hear that and question it and take issue with it. When Donald Trump continued to ask Biden about why didn't they do it? Why didn't they do it? Why didn't they do it? Finally, Biden said a Republican Congress, right? Finally, he snuck that in. But I wish he would have just been more aggressive in his response from the beginning.
Right.
And then Donald Trump also capped back and said, oh, well, sometimes you have to negotiate. Sometimes you have to make the deal, right? Well, that, as we know, that's easier said than done, and it's not realistic. But it was a good one-liner.
Yeah.
The last thing that I will say in regards to the politics is Donald Trump is the current president. Joe Biden has never been president. You want to attack me on Pelosi. You want to attack me on this plan and that plan. I think they were talking about Bernie Sanders' plan. Why are you talking about all that stuff? And and I think he could have came back even a little stronger than he did and be like, why are you talking to me about Nancy Pelosi? Why are you talking to me about um, a Bernie Sanders plan? You're the president. I'm not the president. I'm running for president. And I'm telling you what I'm going to do. And you're telling me about issues that you have with the Democratic Party, right? But you have the Congress on your side, right? And that is that is Republican deep, right? And so, but don't you're debating me. You're not debating, you're not, Nancy Pelosi is not on the stage tonight, right? And I haven't subscribed to all of their plans anyway, right? And my plan is for the American people and not for Democrats or Republicans. I think that would have been a much stronger argument than, but I think overall he did a great job of just kind of holding his own. And I think for the Democratic Party, that's really what they needed, for him to just hold his own, go ahead and jab and get to the 12th round. I heard someone say with a sports analogy that Joe Biden is trying to run out the clock while Donald Trump is trying to throw a Hail Mary, right? And you know how that sometimes how that works in sports. Sometimes the team that's trying to run out the clock kind of let their guard down, and then they lose some of their momentum, right? They lose some of their some of their leverage, and the other team will narrow the gap. And I hope that doesn't happen. But I think Joe Biden did enough to ensure that the people that was on the fence leaning towards him will continue to vote for him. But I did think that Donald Trump, he presented much better, but his presentation it wasn't enough to sway anybody to think that he's not a racist, he's not a liar, he's not a bigot, he's not an elitist, he's not self-serving, he's not a misogynist, right? What he did tonight did not do anything for that, including calling himself the least racist person that has ever has ever walked the earth, and doing the most work for Black people than anybody else that ever walked the earth. Not an exact quote, but still pretty ridiculous in itself.
Right. Yeah, I don't have much more else to say. I think we touched all the points. I think, to your point about Joe Biden, Vice President Joe Biden, could have stood his ground a little more with bringing it back to his campaign. I think he did do that, not as well as he could have, not as well as he should have, but he did show some life in that, and he really centered it back. And then he even pulled a Kamala Harris with, her words were, "You're not going to bully me," or no, what did she say? "You're not going to, I'm not going to be lectured by you on these principles." And he said something very similar. It's like, "You're not going to get to come at me talking about morals and values and so forth and so on when I'm the person on this stage that has X, Y, and Z." And so I really appreciated that. But this is something I have for you. You mentioned about, the people who are leaning one way or another. How do you really feel about that? And I'll share mine first, and then we can go back and forth. I don't think this election will be decided by the people who are in the middle, who are still trying to figure out which way they're going to go. And I don't think the debate, either one of them, shifted anyone's vote strongly one way or the other. What do you think about
Um, I think people are watching, and really, to be honest with you, Dave, if people are undecided at this time, this late in Donald Trump's presidency, if you're still undecided, then I don't know what the hell's wrong with you, right? As you stated, there is hours and hours of footage on where this man stands on a number of issues that is really important to me. And if you're undecided, um, I have issues with that. And so I want to go back to your 50 Cent comment, um, because 60% is a large chunk on a dollar, right? And my wife told me, she said, "Oh, we're giving up this percentage." I was like, how much are we giving up on the dollar, right? And it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money on the dollar. I get it, right? And um, all of that is tied to mismanagement. All of that is tied to politics. All of that is tied to um, um, people not managing their budgets correctly, waste and excess spending, and those are the things that we need to do to better address. Those are the things that we need to do to better address that the taxes that we pay in this country. We
Right.
pay we pay far too much tax in this country, especially with the wealth that we have in this country, right? And um, and I think if people just paid their fair share, then it wouldn't have to be these astronomical numbers, right? It would just be a fair number. But because of mismanagement and politics and waste, and excessive spending, we've gotten away from that. If corporations and the wealthy and the poor and middle class, they all paid their share instead of finding these loopholes, then we wouldn't have to be having this discussion.
Right.
And so hopefully that answers your question in regards to undecided voters. I also know something else that came up in the debate, and they were talking about, or maybe this was prior to the debate that I was listening to. They were talking about young men of color being undecided, and and a growing number of young men of color choosing to vote for Donald Trump. I was like, who's that?
Right.
Right. I got a nephew that voted for Donald Trump last go around, right? Um, but I don't see a lot of young men of color, and so I wanted to look into that a little bit more and see if that's actual real news or fake news. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about, it was this issue that came up with Ice Cube, and I know that you've been following Ice Cube and and his um, his reach to try to touch on both the Republicans and the Democrats, and try to figure out a a way to address the issues in the Black community. My position with Ice Cube is this: I love the brother's music. I'm not even mad at him for trying to reach out across both sides of the aisle and address this issue. My position is the timing is incredibly poor, right? It doesn't look good at this point of the election, and I wish that he would have done it sooner, or I wish that he would have just done it after the election. His argument is that, I'm willing to talk to anyone that will listen to me, but it appears that he's aligned himself, or the media, or Trump's campaign has made it appear as if he's aligned himself with Donald Trump. And I just have a issue with that. What's your thoughts?
Man, so much. Let me just go on record and say this election will be decided by the voters who decide to vote, which, you know, I'm not a voter who's deciding to vote. I'm going to vote, right? I mean, voting is my right. It's my civic duty. I believe in the power of my one vote, and I'm in there. But there's those that's going to vote for Biden. There are those that are going to vote for Trump, and those numbers aren't really going to change. It's the ones who wouldn't vote, the ones who came out in mass to vote for Obama the first time. It's the ones who came out in mass in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Florida towards the end of the voting cycle, the non-college degree, 30-something white America that pushed Trump over because they decided, oh yeah, I need to go vote for this, and so forth and so on. That's what's going to sway this election. And my point with asking you about the debate, at least this year, are more to just see what they're going to say. They're almost more about entertainment value. I can't think of anything that was said in any debate that would even potentially say, ooh, yes, for that reason, I'm definitely Democrat, or for this reason, I'm definitely Republican. It was just you're watching your favorite actor on stage do their performance, right? And that's just the kind of the way I see it this year, right? Like you know, if someone is just straight up about this is what, or they're undecided at this point, it's like, really? Wow, okay, well, we'll be undecided. I hope you decide something and use it, and I hope it's enough to get Trump out of office. But you know, I think that's the least of our worries, right? Again, that decision won't be made till late November, right? And then will it be a peaceful transfer of power? He's already said no, right? So what is that going to look like? What's it going to take to actually have a new president in office come Inauguration Day? Moving on with Ice Cube, so his whole movement is the CWBA, Contract with Black America. And his agenda is that I'm speaking for the Black community. He and his conglomerate, I'm sure it's just not him by himself, but they put together an actual contract and says this is what, from any office, any leader, we're going to need. There's injustice. What he said is there's racism on both spots. There's white supremacy in both parties. He says, and so the Contract with Black America is about leveling that playing field, so no matter who's in office, they know exactly what we're looking for. And then he used the words that you just said, you know, I'll speak with anyone who will listen. My issue with Ice Cube is that he did it behind closed doors. He's been pushing this for the last 4 or 5 months, if not longer. If from the beginning he said, hey, I got this contract with Black America, yes, I'm going to meet with the Trump administration on this because they're the current ones in office and they need to hear this. And I'm going to meet with the Democratic Party on this because they hope to regain the office and they need to hear this. And I want to establish our principles no matter where they are. Now, take the heat then, because people are just going to be like, you shouldn't meet with Trump. And they're dumb. He's right. He's right. If you're going to make change, you want to make change with the people in power and the people who want to gain power. But because he did it behind closed doors, when it came out, it made it look like he was in a Trump camp, right? What do you mean? Blah, 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 blah. And so then, because Ice Cube is who he is, one, he's backpedaling a little bit, and then he's like, well, I ain't gonna back off of this. Let me come right back at you. And then, you know, stupid stuff happens. Like Eric Trump tweeted out the picture of 50 and Ice Cube wearing MAGA hats. Did you see that?
No.
Right, and it was a Photoshop, a bad Photoshop at that. But it was Cube and 50 at a game, a Big Three game, and they had on Big Three hats, and they photoshopped them. And Trump or Cube's response on Twitter was, you know, NIGGA, please, right? And that's all he said. And then you click on the tweet and the tweet's been deleted. So Eric posted it out and then deleted it or removed it or somebody removed it. But it was just like, I'm not even going to engage with you on that. And I saw something he said, Ice Cube said tonight. It's like, y'all need to stop reading the headlines and dig into the news. And I was like, I respect that. I do. And so I agree with you with the timing. I think it was played wrong because he tried to keep it in the closet. You know what they say, whatever you do in the dark is going to come out in the light. And I think he would have got a lot more traffic just coming right at it saying, hey, This is what I'm doing. And the only way to do this is to dive into both camps.
So you have an issue with him doing it in private. I have an issue with his timing. I don't think that there's a need for us to discuss Cube or 50 any more than that. I will say this, man. Um, let's go on the record. I will say that the election will be determined not by the end of November, but by November 15th. Um, in fact, if you don't like that number because it's close to the end, I might even go 10 days. So November 13th, 10 days after. I think Joe Biden is going to win this election. I think people are going to show up. I have faith in the American people, and I believe that peaceful transfer of power will be established, or Donald Trump will concede when he see the number of people that voted for Joe Biden. And so if you want to take that bet, we could go ahead and put some drinks on it, a steak meal or whatever you want to do.
It ain't worth my time, man. I take you out for drinks and a steak anytime anyway. That was
a sucker bet. That was a sucker bet anyways.
What I will say on that real quick is I hope you're right. I really do. The election is normally they tally the votes that night and you find out by morning. Now it's a postmark by that night. You got to give it 5 to 7 days to receive votes, right? And I think what you're pointing to is a political landslide. And if it's a political landslide, you're absolutely right. We have 90% of the votes tallied. At this point, Joe Biden has 78% of the popular vote and 72% of the electoral vote. And there's nothing that can be done. Even if every other vote came in for the Trump administration, it still wouldn't be enough. He's secured the minimum number of votes needed to blah, 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 blah. I agree with all that. Now, if that happens in 10 days, okay, I'd be very happy. I don't believe it.
So put the steak and the drinks on it if you don't believe
it. Done. All right. What day did you say? Let's come up with the date. The 13th. All right, November 13th. What is that? Y'all hearing this, people? So
I don't know.
Let me.
10 days.
I'm pulling the date.
After the election.
Whatever date that is.
On your calendar now, man. I mean,
I just want to see what date it is, man. Back up off you didn't put me on the spot, so you got to give me a minute.
10 days after a Tuesday, man. Let's go another 7 days and 3 days, man.
Friday, November 13th. The election's going to be decided according to Caleb. I ain't going to Sizzler either, man. I want good drinks and good steak. You know what I'm saying? You know how we do. Right. So let's make that happen. All right.
Yeah, great. It's an opportunity for us to get together, anyways, man.
That's really what it is.
So, I really don't have anything else, man. I got a couple closing thoughts, but this final presidential debate, it was what it was. I don't think it's going to sway a lot of people. If someone was looking for a leadership, if someone was looking for a buzzword, if someone was looking for them to answer something, really, there's enough food at the buffet. If you go ahead and do your research, you can go out there and find it. So if you want to get fed, go ahead and do your research. If you question something, do more research, right? And if you don't believe one source, get multiple sources, and do it that way. Something that Joe Biden said that was pretty interesting. He talked about institutional privilege, right? And I think America has certainly had that over the years since its inception, right? White privilege. White privilege is a real thing, and it is what it is. I don't, using one of my president's quotes that he stole from and made it Donald Trump made it is what it is like into a negative, such a negative thing because he was talking about COVID. But um, it what it is what it is really about is accepting that reality or that truth or that fact. Um, it's kind of hard for him to talk about it is what it is when more than 200,000 people have died. I like how Joe Biden actually talked to him about or spoke to the recklessness and the avoidable deaths that could have been prevented if he would have just done things different. So those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts. I'm looking forward to doing this one more time before the election, and then having the election, and then pivoting to things that um, are is more joyful, not as heavy, more light. Get some more guests on here. I know that there's a number of guests that we have people. Everyone's in the political season, right? It's political season. We could have brought anyone on. But I don't know if their opinion would have been much different than ours. And I think like we've acknowledged some of the good things that we saw from both candidates, to be honest with you. And I think that when you're with the brothers from the 818, we keep it real, and we're gonna shine. We're gonna speak to the shine, and we're gonna talk about the things that we don't like as well. And I think that we did that tonight in regards to this debate.
That's what's up. Couldn't have said that better myself. I think, let's just put that one to bed. And, next week is going to be the last time we really have to engage on that level as deep. I agree with you. I want to just, again, we're not about to having fun, but we also want to bring some things going to make people smile, going to make people laugh. We want to, we're going to do us. We're going to do the brothers from the 818. And there's a whole lot more to talk about in the world than just the political climate. But right now, that's where we at. So it's all good. So
I feel like I'm doing my civic duty as well, man. I feel I have some coworkers that ask me what am I going to do different this election season, because Donald Trump being in the White House caught me off guard, and I said that I was going to do something different if I could educate, if I could raise my concerns and speak to those things that doesn't sit well with me, then I would do it this political season. And I feel like this is part of it. This is part of it, having this discussion and trying to influence anyone that's listening, so they can influence people that they're talking to, or at least have a discussion. If it's not influence, at least have a discussion around it, because it's not always about winning or losing. Sometimes it's just about allowing people to be better informed, or putting them in the right direction so that they can do that.
That's what's up. And just like you said, 45 Trump, he's turned it is what it is into such a negative connotation. We always try to give shout outs. So shout out to Dr. Riggio. As she says, if it is what it is, then what is it? Right. And so let's just not stop there. Let's call it what it is. And so she's on the East Coast. What's going on with you? Good to see you. Good. And I know you're going to listen to this at some point. So just want to give you a little shout out. We always got people to shout out, man. My goddaughter's in town. I'm looking forward to seeing her. My goddaughter's mama's in town. I want to see her. So shout out to Iman and Tish. Looking forward to getting some FaceTime. And I ain't talking digital. I mean, like real FaceTime. I need to give y'all a hug or something. So let's make that happen. My baby's in Merced, man. You ever heard of Merced?
Yeah, I know Merced.
So I heard you can't get a speeding ticket in Merced because by the time you get caught, you're not in Merced anymore. She's out there visiting her people, so she'll be gone for a little bit. So she'll hear this at some point. And to the rest of you, I mean, I could, if we start going down the list, I'm gonna miss somebody. So I'm not even gonna worry about that. But for all of our faithful listeners out there, and to those who just happen to stumble upon us. I mean, we got some stumble listeners, I know. Keep doing your thing. And if anything we said to you is a challenge, bring it. And again, it's not about being combative, but anything I say, if it comes out if it comes across my lips, I have to own it. That's just who I am. And if I said something I shouldn't have said, I'm willing to be corrected. And if I said something I meant, I'm willing to stand on it. And that's just the way I do. That's the way you do. That's the way we do as brothers from the 818. So you know what's up, man. Before we close out, what's been finding its way into your I was gonna say ocular, that would be eye. What to into your what you listening to? What you listening to?
Hey, let me say this, man. I wanted to give a shout out to my sister that's at that HBC at Howard, Janaea. She's she's doing that. I also wanted to give a shout out to my brother who had a surgery today. It was working on his legs, nothing too extreme. But anytime you go under the knife and go under the gas, it's serious enough. So thinking about them, prayers are lifted up. Also, again, everybody that showed me any love, everyone that supported me and encouraged me for my blessing, I'm definitely thinking about them. And what am I listening to? I'm listening to my children bicker and complain and whine. I've been so focused on getting from point A to point B to back from point B to point A. And I really haven't been listening to much other than maybe some sports radio. You know that my Los Angeles Dodgers, they're back in the World Series. It'll be wonderful for us to have a joint parade with the Dodgers and the Lakers sometime in 2021. That would be awesome. They're playing the Tampa Bay Rays, and the series is now tied 1-1. So it's the 7-game series is really now like a 5-game series. Which is really strange because they're playing it in Dallas, but Los Angeles, Tampa Bay Rays, Florida team playing in Dallas because of COVID. But I haven't listened to any music that is not child related. So what you listening to?
Man, I still got my 80s, early 90s vibe. I've figured out, you can really trick Spotify. I don't know if it's tricking Spotify, but with Spotify, you can play an old album. Like I played I'll Be Sure's first album, right? Beginning to end. And when it gets to the end, it doesn't stop. It just continues to play music of that genre. And I'm really only playing it to catch the rest of it because I'm hearing stuff that I haven't heard in a while, and just got it playing on smooth back in my office. And we talked about Valerie earlier, and I want to show her some tips because I can start playing music in my house, and when I leave, when I get in my car, it's picking up. From whatever the last word said is now playing in the car. When I get to my office, it's playing there. As I go around, my music follows me all day. So it's like one continuous playlist. And it's just because that's the way technology is nowadays. So yeah, man, just been on a smooth, mellow vibe with some 80s and early 90s R&B. And I'm talking like right before Jodeci. Right before it came back to more hip hop. I'm talking boy band R&B type of flow. Nothing after Boys to Men, Motown Philly.
Oh wow.
So just doing that thing. But yeah, man, that reminds me of the 818, man. That's what we did, then, and we wasn't battling OG Rock. Big shout out to you at the corner of the block. We had some just Freddie Jackson going on, Luther. I remember, I'll speak for myself, calling up girlfriends and singing to them on the phone, knowing I couldn't sing, so stuff like that, just digging in the crates, man.
You singing these days too?
I sing all the time, but it don't mean I can sing. Puberty hit me and ended all that, but yeah, I love to sing, especially I'm in the car by myself, man. I'll be blowing. For real. So Xavier told me the other day, I dropped him off and we was bumping, I mean, mirror vibrating, bumping. And he's like, man, it's just cool, Dad, that I could get out the car and people can hear what we're listening to. I'm like, it is what it is, man. It's just, that's the way it is sometimes. So, you know, having fun, man, having fun. Life's good. Like I did say with the check-in, I got nothing to complain about.
Hey man, you should tell Xavier about Big Bus, man. John Johnson and his Nissan, right? His Nissan, and you know, I'll just share this before we close up. You know, John, he used to Big Bus, man. He used to be banging so hard we could hear him blocks away, and we'd be like, "Oh yeah." We pause and be like, "Oh, he's coming up from Van Nuys."
Right.
All right, he's coming up from Van Nuys. Oh, he's taking a long way route around, right? And we could hear him all the way, like circling the neighborhood. That's how much he was. That's how hard he was banging back in the day, man. So tell Xavier about that, man. And some of the my favorite music that I remember with those beats was like H-Town and Heavy D back in the day, man. So, anyways, man, it was good to reminisce on and explain why my hearing might be
Right.
suffering these days.
Right.
Not just because I'm close to 50. It's also because of John Johnson and David Smith and, you know, my brother Dwayne and people playing music louder than they should.
Still playing music louder than it should still. So I remember Chris Rock said, whatever you was listening to the first time you got you some is always gonna have a special place in your heart. So Houdini for me always is just, you know, a special spot. So, you know, when I oh, you didn't turn the camera around. So yeah, when I'm bumping, I just that's just the way it is. That's a part of me that I didn't grow out of, man. I mean, I'm 50 years old and I got tens on the back deck of the ride and you know, amps and the whole nine. And I love a booming system. I just do. And
Cars roll by.
So it's the way it works. Anyway, you've been kicking it with the brothers from the 818. We had some engaging conversation tonight. So preach on it. Got to hit the right. It's up there somewhere. There it is. Make sure you click, like, and subscribe on that little icon wherever it shows up, and click that little notification button so you know when the brothers from the 818 drop another video. Usually you can wait for it on Wednesday morning. We've been pretty faithful, but you know, Wednesday morning was yesterday, so you'll see this one on Friday morning. We're just glad to be able to share with you our conversation. We had some go back and forth on the debate and what happened. As you can see, you know, Caleb's tagline is no scripts, but we don't always even have to agree. We don't need to necessarily see it eye to eye. But it doesn't mean we're on different pages either. That's just the way that goes, because we just keep it real, raw, and relevant conversation for whatever's going on. As much as this is important, we are looking forward to moving past this political season, because we got a whole agenda of stuff that we want to go through and go to. And we hope you guys will be with us for that journey. So on behalf of the brothers, by the way, man, I'm digging that shirt, the Black Wall Street. That's kind of banging.
What you got on? What you rocking?
I gotta narrow it down so you can see it. It's the I went ahead and pulled that up. Got my Malcolm and Martin.
I love it.
Patriotic today for the debate. You know, kicking it real. So I'd give a shout out to the store I got it from, but they took too long to ship, so it's all good. It did come in, so that's all good. But hey, we appreciate y'all hanging with us. On behalf of the brothers from the 818, y'all be easy out there, be safe, and we hope to see you again next week. All right.
All right. Peace. Bye, Valerie. Love you.
Brothers from the 818. We out.
You are down with
The brothers from the 818.